A few questions. While I meditate, should I adjust my back so that it is straight? When I do sitting meditation, I feel my hands and my lower body part disappear. I try to stay and to focus, but it's intense and stressing and frightening. After reclining meditation, body feels energized and alert, where I can still observe the breaths. The mind just couldn't settle for sitting meditation. Closing eyes doesn't feel comfortable, and the neck and shoulders feel tense too. This is common. Wondering if it's suitable for such a mind. It's the first time doing declining meditation. Well, it's bodies, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes I wish the lower half of my body would disappear. This floating head. So his legs get in the way. Well, yeah, this is energy, isn't it? Energy. I mean, physically the body's still there. So what happens is that the chitta just loses it, and so it just doesn't come into awareness. And I don't know why that is, but the chitta, where energy goes, chitta goes. Where the chitta goes, energy goes. Um, so, chitta's why it's doing that, I don't know. But if it feels intense, it maybe there's some intensity that needs to be kind of relaxed. Mm. So you can't deal with what's not there, but you can deal with what is there. So it feels intense. It seems the intense is the thing that you can try to deal with. Mm. And that would probably mean uh, widening your attention, maybe moving your attention around, moving it around the whole body, moving it around you. Could mean standing and walking. Could mean using a recitation of some words, so the energy is not getting too intense. It's being spread out. Mm. And sitting, so yeah, I do. Should you adjust your back so that it's straight? I think yes and no. Mm. Mm. See, I think you be careful not to just get some idea, my back's got to be like this, and you try to make it something. But certainly, it's good to sense if your back feels comfortable and erect. You see, so it's more like a feeling sense, felt sense. Of, yes, it's quite erect rather than compressed. That's the important thing. And of course, people's bodies are slightly different, so you don't want to kind of try and force it in some visual idea, but into feeling, sort of compressed here, opening here, chest is open, and there's no pressure on my abdomen. So if the back is properly balanced, then these ribs don't rest on the belly; they rest on the spine. You see, makes sense. So things like that. So then the weight of these bones comes down the spine into the pelvis, into the floor. That's what we want weight to do. We want the weight to go into the earth. The earth can carry it. So then, and this means this area is not getting any pressure. And if we sit like this, then this weight comes onto the abdomen, it's slightly pressed, and this is going to restrict the breathing, isn't it? Because the breathing comes from here, swells, and then rises up. So we should do what we can to make to relieve any pressure in the abdomen, so the abdomen could properly open when we fully breathe in a very relaxed way. And then you're just placing your spine so it's properly poised. And then you see how the pelvis is. It's another huge bone, series of bones actually, like a kind of like that, isn't it? Pelvis. Legs come down here, and the spine comes up here. And pelvis also, the bottom of it got these two little bars, So the base of the pelvis got two little bones are like bars. You can feel them sometimes. And and then if you can kind of, instead of sitting on the flesh of your bottom, your backside, you tilt forward so you can feel, oh, right, sitting on this bony bit there. And then see, then you've got bone. And then you kind of come like that, and then you can swing forward and just slowly lower your body up. Right. Balanced above those bones. That's what we want, you see. Because you should sit on your bones, stand on your bones. Bones are designed to carry weight. You don't want to be sitting on stuff that's supposed to move. Because that, and if you're sitting on soft flesh, it can't give you the support. The bone can, because it's going to sink. And we sit like that and sink. And sit on the bones. And then so often put a little cushion or something just to tip so that it kind of helps to support the backside. So you're slightly right on the very, it's where your leg thigh bone comes in, right there in the backside. You feel as sitting bones, you sit on those. And that's really nicely balanced there. You see, you can draw up. And you relax. You see, right, so keeps this free. And similarly, this is one place that the bends in the back in the bone is the lumbar region. And the other place is between the shoulder blades. So if we like this again, it's going to put pressure, it's going to reduce the chest. And we want plenty of breath to come into the chest. And you get a much more comfortable breathing practice. So you come up the spine, just feel that area between the shoulder blades and get the sense as if you're running a finger up the spine. You get to that point, just give it a slight prod. You feel it when your chest opens up. So you drop your arms down. This is good, nice and open. And then this helps to, we don't get so compressed, you don't get so intense, and you don't get drowsy. Now, if you've got a lot of energy, and you're like this, you're going to get intense. probably start thinking. If you don't have much energy, then you'd go drowsy. So this helps to mediate between those. And remember also that your spine is your neck, is the spine. So again, with the neck, and if we have the head tilting forward, neck muscles carrying weight. And the head comes forward and it pulls the rest of the back over. So we want to back. So weight of the neck, weight of the head's coming down here, going down to the pelvis. And then this is light. This is open. Right, this is closed. So all this closing, you want to closing, you want to go against that closing. So the energy can travel freely. And then we feel quite bright and buoyant and light. That's a good way to establish the body, depending on your physical condition, but it's worth working on, worth doing. And as for reclining meditation, so person says they couldn't settle for sitting, so after reclining, when they got up, came from reclining, the sitting didn't feel very good. Well, then stand up, So it may be, who knows, But standing is very good to re-establish the balance. See, sitting is not so good. Sitting is good for collecting. Standing is good for really getting the whole thing lined up. So let your energies, otherwise we can easily get too much up here. When you stand, you're spreading over the whole body, and the energy is able to stabilize into the whole form. So this is just a reminder. I mean, it seemed to me when I was doing the reclining, people were sat up, seemed to be sitting quite comfortably, peacefully. And if it's not, you can do anything, stand up, walk. So if you're getting tense, then something, the energy is just not settling down. But let's see, is it suitable? Well, you're going to lie down sooner or later, so better get used to it. So talking about addictive behaviors, chetana, and the chitta runs out. It runs out of sati, it runs out of mindfulness. It runs out of being collected. So, of course, this is probably what it's doing most of the time, running out. It's impulse, it runs out. Now, so we can send it out. So if you have metta, for example, that's a chetana, that's a chetana, then you can send it out and say, okay, and consider other beings, and you open your chetana, your volition Extend, your chitta can extend to include others. When it runs out, it means it's being pushed by um, heedless desire. Mhm. So, we have desire, and there's desire that's useful, called chanda, motivation. Something we can direct. Motivation. I want this. You direct it, and then you carefully follow it. You can follow it with your sati, with your mindfulness. The other kind of desire is tanha, which grabs. We don't decide to have tanha. It happens. It's called literally thirst. So it's just like a wild impulse to have, to get, to possess something, or to become something. It reaches out like that, and the chitta runs out. Mm. So the difference is with chanda is much more the motivation to do something, and tanha is the motivation to have something. So one's trying to cram in, chitta reaches out to, or reaches out for some idea. Mm. So the person asks about three terms: cultivation, practice, and contemplate. Cultivation and practice are same thing, synonymous. To cultivate is to practice. It's just another way of talking about practice. Cultivate. Because cultivate, gives you the idea it's like growing something. Bhavana, growing something, like growing crops or growing anything. It's just a process whereby you have to put the seeds in, and you have to care for it, water it, warm, give it time. That's a good way of thinking of practice. It's certainly not a switch something on and let it happen. That's not practice. And it's a much more involved process. And part of cultivation is to contemplate. So you're cultivating, how's this? So that's the viveka. See, how's this? It needs more of this. No, just steady, What's this? Mm, mm. So in this way, this is it can all kinds of words, sampajanya, which means you're contemplating the changing nature of things. It's much more uh, looking at how things arise and pass. But generally, just the broad sense of vitaka vichara. What's this? How's this? Is it comfortable? Is it settled? What's needed? That's how you contemplate. And it's like wisdom being activated in a careful way. That's all part of it. Of course, you can contemplate when you're getting stuck or when you're not getting stuck. What's happening when I'm getting stuck? What's being stuck? What's going on? Or when things feel nice and comfortable, what's absent? So contemplate what's present, contemplate what's absent. When I'm stuck, what's absent? You know, when things are feeling free, what's absent? Absent of craving, absent of clinging, absence of ill will. So you notice what's present, you notice what's absent. And that gives you a good way of understanding and guide and steering your practice. So the person felt the analogy that Buddhist practice and the self was like a murmur of sparrows or a shoal of fish swimming together. Would you be able to expand on this? I think my recollection was I was using this to talk about citta. So, we can think citta is a particular thing. It's a thing. So where did it come from? Where's it going? Where does it live? What is it? It's a thing. No, it's not a thing. So, uh, so how can we? If it's not a thing, how do we? How, you what's the use of this word? Mhm. So we say, okay, well, let's look at your mind or your heart. What's that? Is that a thing or not? Well, it's sort of, yeah, I guess it is, but what is it then? Well, I get these feelings. I was feeling, right? Yeah, I'm feeling. Okay. Then I get these memories. Oh, memory. Right? Memory is not the same as a feeling, is it? No. So memory, feeling. Also get these impulses to do something, or to, that's another one. Right? So, which is your heart? Which is your chitta? And so, well, it's in all of them. You know, it's involved with all of them. Yeah. These are called these are called the aggregates. You see. Mm. So uh, the chitta is involved with the aggregates, but you don't quite see the chitta. You see the aggregates. There's that feeling. There's that mood. There's that emotion. There's that interest. There's that tone. There's that energy that runs out. There's that energy that's calm. You notice all these factors. And so there's no such thing as a chitta. It's not a thing. It's a kind of territory, you could say, where these aggregates are moving around and they're related to each other. When I see something, so consciousness is also part of it. When I see something, that's that. That's perception. See, so you have to have consciousness to have a perception. But no eyes, I can't say that's a beautiful flower, can I? No. Consciousness gives rise to perception, and there's a feeling. Oh yeah, I like that experience. Feeling, consciousness, feeling, perception, and then there's this other thing called I want to get that flower. I think I'll buy one. I'll give it to my aunt. Yeah. That's called sankara. That's cetana, sankara. And also it says, I really look at that very carefully. That's called attention. That's another one called sankara. So this is what's going on, right? And they're all kind of they work together. They link up together. And how do they work together? How do they know each other? Because of chitta. Because the chitta is like you could say it's a kind of fundamental intelligence, has an intelligence and an energy. It's an intelligence and an energy. So something contacts the chitta. Oh, then it's a place where impressions land, right? A place where perceptions land, a place where impulses rise from. You could look at it like that. A place where feeling lands and response comes up. You know? Place where a mental impression strikes, and then, oh, hello, I remember you. That volition occurs. So you could say it's a place. So you say, where is this place? It's the place where your perception lands. It's not a physical place, is it? It's somewhere in this kind of immaterial world. Yeah. Right. So it's another level of experience. It's not material reality. Right? It's kind of say mental or psychological or another kind of reality. Mhm. So it doesn't have a place like ears and tongue and feet do. but it's definitely real. So you say, well, what is it? You know, well, that question came from your chitta. And what you're looking for would be a perception to tell you where it is. And that will land on your chitta. But so all you can find is perceptions, feelings, mental consciousness, and sankharas. That's what you can find. And you can't operate any other way. You can't do anything any other way than that. You can't operate. So as soon as you operate, this happens. Yeah, right? So you say, where is it? Well, that's a sankhara. Mm, yeah. So you can't find it because the very act of just trying to find something comes from the chitta, and whatever you think it is, that is also not the chitta, that's a perception. So maybe there's no such thing as a chitta. Well, something's landing somewhere. Impulses arising somewhere, and suffering happens somewhere. And well, even more important, cessation of suffering happens somewhere. And then, well, when that happens, the sankharas stop. And the perceptions fade out. And the chitta realizes itself. Mm. Mm. So this flight of birds. You can see one bird is feeling, one bird is sankhara, one bird or impulses, one bird is perception, another bird called consciousness, and they're all kind of moving together. Mm. And then think, there goes the chitta. Well, not really. It's sort of behind all this. So these are, yeah, yeah, they're behind all this. But the chitta is sort of, you know, is implicit in all that. So all this stuff is going towards suffering. Whoops. No. It's going towards stress. So it seems like me. You see, that's another way of just very simply saying what citta is. It's a sense of when you say, I, yeah, definitely, what's that? Where did it go? So you say it's that. You know? So then, mm, so these are fluttering around. Now, when they get very intense, they will crowd together so quick, so much, that all you feel is this fluttering and agitation. Their little wings fluttering against each other. As all the perceptions and the feelings of sankharas are getting all mingled up. It's like a chattering away. You probably heard it. Now, when there's dispassion, coolness, just seeing, oh, this is just the flight of birds. It's not really me. It's just stuff that happens to me. It's stuff that's around my chitta. My chitta is wrapped up in all this. And then the word becomes useful. And say, oh, then it's a useful word. And that's not me. This is just this flight of fluttery birds. So now if I'm no longer so interested in those, no longer so kind of reactive to them, they start to move apart. And then you get space. And, oh, that's nice. So then you kind of get more space between them. And then you recognize, oh, the whole mood of the citta has changed. It's now not so busy, so intense, it becomes spacious. What happened? Just as the sankharas and the side of the calm no longer get so tangled up with each other. And you get a sense of space. And that can be felt. That can be known. Can't be conceived of, but you can feel it. That feels good. Feels good. So let's do some more of it. And so then the calming of the sankharas is, oh, that feels really peaceful and easeful. You know, that's kind of think of it like that. And there's the phrase occurs several times when the Buddha says, these aggregates are really quite a nuisance. This stuff is quite a burden and nuisance. So eventually just losing interest in them, the citta inclines away. And this is peaceful. This is sublime. Stilling of sankhara, the relinquishment of residues, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nibbana. So like that, so that the citta then goes out of this flock. And everything one says is always kind of best you can do, really inadequate to give you an idea of how it seems to me as experience, as experience. Just a way of trying to, so some of these terms can be very useful, particularly when we begin to say, we so believe there's such a thing as my mind, and there isn't a thing as my mind. There's mental factors that are always changing. So that makes it a lot more spacious. Yeah. Is citta anicca dukkha anatta? So, what is the origin of citta? Yeah. So, well, here we go. The terms anicca dukkha anatta were applied to the aggregates. The Buddha, in his second teaching, said, these perception, is it permanent? No. If it's not permanent, is it kind of reliable, satisfactory? No. Is it right then to call this truly what I am? No. So he went through this analysis of these 5 aggregates. Right? So that's a way of analyzing perception, feeling, consciousness, and sankharas. Understand? And that applies to that. Now, the degree to which there is involved and embedded in these, you'll certainly be able to experience these characteristics. But it's the aggregates that are anicca, dukkha, anatta. The term is not used for citta. Origin of citta. What is the origin? Well, it's like saying, where does existence begin? Where does existence begin? Well, it's already here, isn't it? It's happening. You can't get before existence because you're in it. Where does time begin? Well, we're in it, aren't we? Time begins when you start to count it. So, but then they say the origin isn't quite the well. The word is used samudaya, which means a kind of welling up, becoming more manifest. So, the welling up, the citta, is the five aggregates. That's how it becomes manifest. Five aggregates, or sometimes also nama rupa vijnana, as I mentioned the other day. When that lot starts manifest as it is already, then your citta is involved with that. So, uh, so you can't say there's a time before it because you're in it. There's always consciousness, isn't there? So all you know is it intensifies and wells up and is associated with these aggregates. Now, what's kind of more to the point is where does it cease? And it doesn't cease. The aggregates cease, nirodha, the citta atangamo, which means it goes out. Not quite the same. So it means you can no longer you can no longer track it because the tracking system is the aggregates. When they cease, you can't track it, right? You can't trace it because there's nothing to trace it with. So that's the citta released. That's nibbana. Do we know we are progressing? Well, you've got to think about it. It probably means you're worrying or doubting. Do you feel more peaceful? Um, things becoming clearer? You're able to recognize mental factors more quickly, so you're not deluded. You can recognize when you're worried or when you're um, comfortable. And also you recognize this is just, it's not me, these are just conditions changing. So the more one is able to clearly discern factors as they arise and as they swell and as they cease, then you can say, yeah, this is very good. Yeah. Mm. So one gets less stuck, less clinging, less stuck. Mm. Lungtar Mahabua is a renowned forest master. He taught his practice, such as pinning his mind to Buddha. So this means you keep reciting Buddha, 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 and just keep his mind focusing on Buddha, Buddha, Buddha to stop it running away. Just keep placing this word on Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. And he said he did this day and night, and sitting from night until dawn. So he'd sit still from beginning in the evening until dawn, which is what, about 10 hours, I suppose, and just doing Buddha. So, question is this practice a little too forceful and willful? It says Ajahn Mahapur. I wouldn't try it. I mean, that's his style, but he was a real fighter. So that's his kind of boom style. And yeah, that's pretty unusual. But you can, I mean, a lot of teachers use Buddha as just a way of getting immediately something to get mind to get hold of. Or breathing in Bud, breathing out dog. So when you use a word almost like to color or make the breath stick out by putting a word on it, Bud, breathing in, dog, breathing out. So that's quite a known practice, quite common. So, so that means that the breath is marked. I don't use it very much, partly because my mind is easily affected by words. You can see I use a lot of words. I use a lot of words. So it goes to words quite easily. So I really don't want any more of them, even good words. I just want to shut up. So I used to have a practice when I was trying to do the rising and falling the abdomen, you see. So I think rising, falling, rising and falling the abdomen, rising, falling. Eventually I found out I wasn't focused on the abdomen at all. I was just focused on these words. And I was saying rising when actually it was falling. So, even walking, I had to do the same sort of thing, lifting, touching. So the words became so dominant, I couldn't actually feel the body. So that's the way my mind is. This retreat has helped me practice Cittaviveka. Cittaviveka means the citta in this viveka, being able to step back and be more less engaged. In my normal life, the world is experienced as coming at me. At times, I stop to meditate in the middle of a very stressful day. It feels like my heart is going to burst out of my chest. I've become even more overwhelmed with the anxiety in my body. By the end of my day, I feel exhausted and broken and just want to escape. My morning mind is very different from my midday and evening mind. Is the answer to quit my job or not? Or might be a good idea. I mean, the things that people do for a living, it's really quite distressing. The amount of stress and pressure and speed that human beings are asked to operate at, and the intensity of it, really quite unhealthy. But just the kind of how to help viveka when things are coming at you, to use your body, and this means, very simply speaking, it always comes at you front, doesn't it? Comes at you, your face, because it's where the sense organs are. So then your eyes, yeah. So you get really frazzled. And then, so you always kind of, and then because you're expected to pay attention to things, you're leaning into things that are just jabbing you, right? And so, it's probably a good idea is come into your back and try to, if you can stand, feel your feet on the floor, and just bring your attention down your back into the ground. And just sort of soften your awareness here, just relax it. And so you just come back. And that really that's kind of viveka, almost using it physically, just to withdraw. You can still see things, but the impact is much less intense. So you can shift where your attention is, where the center of it is, to make the impact less intense. Similarly, you can extend it this way, you're not just up here and down at your fingers. So, sometimes you can have a bead or a stone or something in your pocket, so you've got something to just not get everything happening here. You've got something to just help your attention to not be so involved with all that. So you have mala beads, or if you're at a job getting mala beads out might look a bit strange. So what you have in your pocket, you might have just a bead or a stone or something like that. Just holding it, squeeze, little ball, squeezing it, and soft ball, squeezing the ball. You know, just helps to just you feel that happening. So that helps to pull your chitta away from being, in the firing line, in the zone, the way, so basically something like that. All right. Gain a mantra. Buddha, 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 Buddha. But of course, if you're in work or social situation, you're muttering Buddha, Buddha. It's probably not very crazy. Uh, so that's it. Somebody asked about secular Buddhism, and somebody giving a talk on secular Buddhism, and she was saying, "Well, I don't know if I really want to introduce this because I don't think Buddhism is secular. I don't think it's really inappropriate. So maybe I should say I don't agree with the speaker, but I think I wouldn't go that far." He might say, so-and-so is going to give a talk on her idea or his idea about how Buddhism can be applied in a secular world. And so just listen, think it over. But generally, Buddhism is much, because I think there's a kind of reasonable sense of trying to make Dhamma practice something that's very useful in the ordinary daily life. Ordinary daily life. So they don't want kind of too much mystical stuff. But it often reduces Buddhism to like a stress reduction system or a philosophy. Like a philosophy or a way of reducing stress. This is kind of very kind of limiting the scope and the power and the depth of it, in my opinion. So, of course, Buddha himself advised businessmen. So he wasn't always presenting his whole thing. He was only just advising a businessman how to use your money, how to use your savings, who to look after, share it out. That's secular, if you like. But he didn't just leave. Just didn't. He didn't just leave his teaching there. He also widened it. Realization in nibbana. I mean, that's not secular. That's world unravels the world altogether. Yeah, and of course, people have to live in the world. They want to find out how they can use some of these teachings to make their life in the world a bit more skillful. That's okay. But remember, there's much more to it than that. Much more to this presentation than any of this.